Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. I make videos about Dungeons and Dragons full time thanks to your generous support, shares and views, with multiple uploads every week to help share the rich history of monsters, locations and mythologies of D&D. Time for a viewer request, and a hot topic at the moment. The Kirin is on the menu today. A creature from Chinese and East Asian mythology, dating back to its first appearance in a preserved literary work from the 5th century, but it has a very ancient history and was said that the Emperor Wu of Han captured a live one back in 122 BC. So a bit of juicy folklore for the cryptid fans, although it's been, well, cast. There were skeptical reports of this in the 5th century from other Chinese scholars. A legendary beast went through a period where it was identified with the first giraffes that the Ming dynasty acquired. The famous explorer Zheng He traded with Somali merchants, bringing 2 giraffes to Nanjing, where the emperor proclaimed them to be the magical Kirin, whose capture signaled the greatness of his power. A little bit of hubris there, and politics of the finest order. Dragons in Chinese folklore and art are often depicted just as we see the Kirin on pages 163 and 164 of Volo's Guide to Monsters, except traditionally they would have true antlers, not just the pearl-coloured spiral unicorn horn, but otherwise they look exactly like the D&D celestial creature, so they are absolutely spectacular. They look like somebody's crafted a perfect jewellery impression of the best of deer and lion and horse and dragon, and yeah, they're just beautiful. Also, in Taoist mythology, the Kirin certainly are creatures of goodness and justice who only punish evil people. In Buddhist depictions, they would refuse to even step on another living creature, not even a blade of living grass. Such was their intense love of pure and innocent creatures. They are also omens of the arrival of a great and benevolent ruler or wise sage, with a strong association with luck, good virtues, prosperity, peace, success, and they feature in ancient decorations just as Western people would depict a crane bringing a family a new happy baby. So they're a fertility symbol, prosperity, peace, love, and happiness. In Dungeons and Dragons, they appeared in Eldritch Wizardry in 1976, and then the first Monster Manual the following year. They have been in most of the editions of D&D, but I believe they skipped 4th edition. They have always closely followed the original intent and origin of the Kirin from Chinese folklore, being noble and pure-hearted protectors of all that is good, serving the divine powers of the celestial realms, fighting evil and acting as immortal guardians of the mortal world. While many serve and venerate Torm, Tyr and Ilmater, they also serve the good gods of Toril and the celestial court of Karatur. They have their own patron deity named Coriel. The individual appearance of the Kirin may vary a great deal from one to the other, as they have spent thousands of years in service to different gods on different worlds or planes of existence, so they adapt and sort of conform to those places. So while the base origin form of the Kirin is golden and radiant, covered with luminous golden scales like the sunrise on a clear morning, the thick mane and tail are of a darker gold, the horn and hooves are gold tinged with pink, the eyes are a deep violet. But they can be much more muted and mundane in their coloration, looking much more earthly rather than divine beings, and for all we know, they can resume their full celestial splendour when they return to Arcadia, Mount Celestia, Bitopia, Elysium, the Beastlands, Arborea, or Asgard. They naturally fly and hover all the time. Even if they appear to be walking on the ground, they actually hover very close to it. But they don't step on any grass or soil. They will only relax and recline on a surface if they're absolutely sure that they will not harm any living creature in doing so. They have a melodious voice, melodic, and they speak their own ancient language. They can speak fluent supernal and celestial languages as well as all mortal tongues, and they have telepathy out to 120 feet, so basically they communicate with just about anything. Physically, a Kirin has an armor class of 20 and an average of 152 hit points, so they are pretty tough, and they are huge in size with a 15-foot reach on their attacks. However, Aside from an immunity to all poisons, they have no other special resistance to damage. Also, their melee attacks with horn and hoof for a challenge rating 12 creature are pretty feeble. They're +9 to hit their targets. Their hooves do 2d4 +5 bludgeoning damage, and the horn does 2d8 +5 piercing damage, so not even any extra radiant damage or anything. And they don't count as magical attacks. So effectively, against mundane threats, sure. But would a Kirin stand any chance against a Balrog? Well, first of all, they avoid getting into melee combat if they are facing a tooth and claw fight. They use their speed and agility to draw attention away from those they are protecting, and they soak up some heavy hits before taking off like a bat out of hell. They can move at 60 feet on the ground and fly with pinpoint maneuverability at 120 feet. Plus, they can use a combination of their legendary actions and the dash action to travel at blinding speed. On their turn, they perform the dash action, moving 240 feet. At the end of the next creature's turn, they move half their speed, avoiding all opportunity attacks. Now they've travelled 300 feet. The next creature's turn, they've travelled 360 feet, and by the third creature's turn in that round, they have moved a total of 420 feet. Now, those of you who do the math will work out that this is exactly 47.7 miles per hour, which is faster than the highest speed ever recorded for a professional racehorse, which was 43.97 miles per hour. Also, that racehorse was sprinting as fast as it could on a racetrack. Nothing in its way, didn't have to ziggle-zag. Kirin can move that speed right through the thick of battle without anyone being able to lay a finger on them. They can change directions on a dime. So this is supernatural speed, and combined with an arsenal of magical abilities, well, they're wizards. They have no need to go toe-to-toe with anything. Looking at the spell-like abilities of the Kirin in 5th edition, they are 18th level divine spellcasters with a spell save difficulty of 17. The list of sample spells which Kirin may have already prepared is a good indication of what their motivations and possible behaviours are. So let's take a look at this list. For cantrips, they have Light, Mending, Sacred Flame, Spare the Dying, and Thaumaturgy. Also, if the Kirin is within a location it has established a luxurious lair for itself on the material plane, it can conjure objects out of thin air, suppress disease, curses, and poisons indefinitely, control the weather as per the spell, even if it's up to 3 miles from its lair, and it just pumps out a constant flow of celestial positive energy, bolstering and purifying everything. Repelling evil creatures. I'll talk about this more later on because it's kind of important. So a Kirin can use Thaumaturgy to stomp its hoof with a rumble in the local area. Then an actual bolt of lightning and rolling thunder will signify that it's moderately annoyed. They can cast Command, Cure Wounds, Detect Evil and Good, plus cast Sanctuary with 4 level 1 spell slots. They have 3 slots for levels 2, 3, 4 and 5 spells. They can include Calm Emotions, Lesser Restoration, Silence, Dispel Magic, Remove Curse, Sending, Banishment, Freedom of Movement, Guardian of Faith, Greater Restoration, Mass Cure Wounds, Scrying, and from level 6 to level 9 spells it has 1 slot each for those, with Hero's Feast, True Seeing, Etherealness, Plane Shift, Control Weather, and True Resurrection. So this is a powerful spellcaster who can bring the dead back to life, heal the sick, locate and banish evil outsiders, summon celestial allies, and literally enforce the peace, with magic powers that allow them to escape all shackles and confinement, short of very powerful sort of magical imprisonment. Also, Kirin have access to all of the divine spells. This is just the sample list of Kirin probably has prepared when they're just going about their day-to-day activities. If they are if they're preparing themselves for a serious fight, they're capable of unleashing tremendous divine power and summoning celestial allies who will drop what they are doing and flock to the call of the Kirin. One moment you're watching a Kirin diverting the rampaging assault of a demonic horde pouring into the prime material plane. The next moment, there is a series of blinding pulses of light and the whole area is a swirling cyclone of diva angels, dive bombing with thunderous strikes with their radiantly charged maces. Then the next moment, white and blue streaks literally rip through the heart of the demonic forces as mighty planetar angels gates in and dives directly into the center of the fight, with flame strikes and whirling blades slamming walls of whirling blades slamming and churning up the enemy in a tornado of severed body parts and scorched meat. While overlooking the escape and protection of innocents fleeing the battle, the Kirin devotes its every action to saving lives, racing back into danger again and again to rescue not just the ordinary people, but livestock, wild animals. It might even interpose and try to protect ancient trees from getting caught in the crossfire. Such is the absolute devotion to the protection of life within the Kirin. Thankfully, such excitement is not an everyday occurrence for the Kirin. They spend a lot of their time in far more important activities. I know, that sounds odd, right? What could be more important than stopping a demonic invasion? Well, consider the wisdom and influence of the Kirin, and this influence that it has spread over thousands of years, hundreds of generations, and that they dedicate themselves to creating individuals. So raising people up from childhood to champions in their community who value courage, selfishness, loyalty, truth, mercy, and justice. As they instruct, train, and inspire hundreds and hundreds, those new paragons go on to train hundreds more in their lives. And so the net effect is that the Kirin is directly responsible for crafting entire regions of law, order, peace, and kindness in the territory that they either choose to or are instructed to protect and shepherd by the god the Kirin serves. On the material plane, they are very close in power to an actual demigod, able to solidify clouds into sculpted structures, create temporary but very real objects out of any substance, plus, over a wide area near their lair. And I want to point out this line because it's particularly important, because it's just loaded with potential. Animals, plants, and good creatures within 3 miles of the Kirin's lair gain vigor as they evolve towards an idealized form. An idealized form. Think about that. So what is the ideal version of a hawk, or a wolf, or a goat, or a rabbit, a fish, an apple, a tree, a carrot, an anthive, a mushroom, a pixie, a dwarf? What's the idealized form of a human? Evil creatures are repelled by the same influence. But what about a good aligned goblin, or a drow that has escaped the underdark and sorted life of goodness on the surface world? What's their ideal form? Also, even more remarkable, good aligned creatures who fall off rooftops or cliffs or out of hot air balloons are slowed by winds that spring up out of nowhere to slow their fall to a mere 60 feet per round. This is the same sort of effect that a gold dragon can have on an area. And this happens without any attention from the Kirin. It's just their celestial influence over this entire region. And remember, a radius of 3 miles all around the lair encompasses something like 28 square miles. So that is certainly enough room for a whole kingdom where evil creatures just don't want to reside, and where every plant, tree, and animal grows free of disease or malformation into the best form that it can be. A whole flock of sheep where every one of them is best in show. Every year, every farmer brings some sort of enormous turnip or pumpkin into town on a wheelbarrow or a cart to show everyone, while some Conan-like blacksmith is whistling a happy tune in time with a rapid-fire hammering of his anvil for hours and hours without breaking a sweat, working so hard it would make a visiting dwarf drop his jaw in amazement. These people are paragons. This is the power of the Kirin and the sort of extreme influence that the forces of good can have in the D&D world. Like I said, I don't often focus so much on that fact for all the, but I focus so much for all the over-the-top, horrific and fantastic evil that exists in the monster manuals. But there's an ever-present, equally fantastic and over-the-top force of good pushing right back at it. And it's within the struggle, the boundary between these, that we place our stories, our heroes and villains, threats and salvations, our plots and disasters. The Kirin is a living embodiment of one of the celestial points of light, often present as a stabilizing force of law, order, and goodness in the prime material plane. This is the reason why you have these fantastical fairy tale kingdoms where, there's goodness and light and stuff, and there's these horrible forces of evil in the D&D world. But what is the force that stops them from encroaching? It's creatures like the Kirin that have this influence over 28 square mile areas, of gold dragons that slumber away and their dreams become manifest, These are the things that stop the D&D world from running rampant. Anyway, just a reminder, if you've not subscribed already, feel free to do so. Be sure to hit that notification bell as I upload from the other side of the world sometime in your future. For access to all the scripts and 1 week advanced access to these videos, consider becoming a patron of the channel on Patreon for a minimum of just $1 per month. Join the community on our Discord server and come say hi. Also, if you want to pick up a new video game at a significant daily discount or some merchandise to help me out in the process, check out the daily deal on Chrono. There's a new game every day, and there's also a link to Patron Blades if you want to pick up a subscription to some very good razors for a smooth shave. Link down below in the video description text. As always, thanks for listening, everyone, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.